AEW could be in some big trouble as there are reports of negative feedback from people in and around the company. I'm going to talk about that as well as some feedback from wrestlers that we already know of that aren't exactly happy right now in AEW. Before I do, though, I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Okay. Backstage trouble in AEW. This is something that's kind of come up a few times over the past number of weeks, and honestly, in the past few years. There was, of course, the CM Punk situation that nearly captivated everyone in professional wrestling, whether they want to admit it or not. But we've also heard a lot of situations that still kind of simmer to this day, most notably that being of Andrade El Idolo, who has publicly voiced his frustration with AEW more recently in a post right after AEW Full Gear this year, kind of noting how he had not been used in a pay-per-view setting ever in a singles match, and he's never had a big feud leading up to a pay-per-view. So he's been upset for a while. There was reports last year that he was trying to get fired. He was picking fights with Sammy Guevara because he wanted to get fired. And now today, somewhat related to that overall theme, we've heard from Dave Meltzer, who says, quote, "They, being AEW, are grossing a lot of money. It's interesting because today I've gotten so much feedback from people in and around AEW, and it's a lot of negativity right now. And I think some of it stems from the show Saturday night, obviously was a very poor crowd. It's interesting because there's a lot of negativity, while at the same time, the company is grossing more money by far than it ever has." So Meltzer bringing up two very important points there. One being this sentiment of negativity that has, I don't want to say permeated, but we've heard a lot about as in terms of AEW talent and the shows. Like, I don't think it's hard for people to think that talent aren't exactly thrilled about the fact that the houses are not drawing well. And of course, the way talent gets paid now is completely different to back in the day when talent would get paid depending on the houses. But right now, if you're out there and you're performing in front of, 2,000 people in an arena that fits like 10,000, and you're staring at a hard camera side that has no one there, like, you are going to be a little bit frustrated. And I'm not saying that that's how AEW's always run. Like, they've sold out arenas week to week to week and had big crowds. But recently, this year has just not been a great year for AEW as far as drawing big live crowds outside of like pay-per-views, most notably Wembley, which broke the ticketed, was it the attendance ticketed record, whatever they want to tout, they broke that. But I think like some of the frustration obviously stems from that. I think there's also frustration that stems from other things that have been happening in the company over the past year, 2 years. CM Punk situation, that detracting from a lot of the wrestling that's been on the show, the awesome talent that's been on the show, talent not getting a chance. We've heard of Miro in the past being frustrated with some of the things that have been coming out of creative. Andrade El Idolo, someone I mentioned earlier. And we also have heard things from the women's division that the people weren't exactly happy, or people haven't been getting creative. Like Thunder Rosa, someone says, like, yeah, I'm healthy, I'm good to go, but they don't have creative for me. And it's one of the pitfalls that AEW, I think, finds itself in, a little bit of its own doing, because for whatever reason, it seems like they've gotten into this pattern of putting on great matches, but not necessarily all the time telling great stories. They have a great story with MJF in the world title picture, sure, but you need to have more than one good story, more than one good feud going. And the Continental Classic, I think, changes things up and makes things interesting, but I don't think it fixes the business problem that AEW has, and that's how do you get people to come to your events? How do you get live crowds to be bigger? How do you make sure that talent not only feel empowered to come to you with ideas, but on top of that, talent feel like they're being utilized? There's a lot of talent in AEW. And a good amount of them are not being utilized in the way that fans want, in the way that I think they want. And it's caused AEW TV to become less than it used to be. I still think that Dynamite is probably still the best wrestling show there is week to week, but it is far from the Dynamite that was on our television screens throughout most of 2022 and, of course, 2021, which is arguably the best year as far as television goes in AEW's history. But you couple that now with the fact that AEW is having financially their best year ever. There were reports that AEW was slated to make over $170 million in gross revenue this year, which is great. And that shows that you have a growing young company. And at the same time, we can acknowledge that, but we can also say that they still have a ways to go to becoming this full-fledged entity of what they of fulfilling their full potential. So I think that, like, there are easy things they can do, right? Which is make a few changes to the way they market their regional shows and their regional live events. Like, promoting on TV in local markets is something you can do. You can build out that marketing scheme and make sure that people know that AEW is coming to town. And also, even if they don't come, make sure that people know for next time, hey, this is AEW. Here's what we do. If you can't make it, check us out. So that the next time they come to town after they watch the show, they'll be like, okay, this is something cool. Like, I want to go. So you have to build that rapport with these local markets. Otherwise, they're not going to know who you are, or they're just not going to be interested because they don't know what you're putting on. So that's just one way of fixing it. There's more. I think telling stories would work. I think highlighting and making big profile stars would also help. But is AEW in trouble right now? I would say the locker room is not lost, but I think they have a ways to go as far as making sure that they're all in sync. Financially, though, they're doing great. I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.